all the tank blitzers and hopefully a few future mumrads. I'm Littlefinger, sharing a little more knowledge with you today. This time I am reviewing the M3 Lee. You can see it here in the garage as a Tier 4 medium American tank. While it plays more like a TD, as you can see here in the garage, the main gun there is not located on the turret, which makes the playstyle of this tank, in my opinion, rather difficult because your gun is much lower and you have to expose a lot of your tank in order to get a good shot off. Now, I will talk about the good gun depression. Armor Inspector showing this as -10 to +25. Which when played on a hill really improves the effective armor of that sloped frontal hull armor there. So anyway, I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a minute, but let's just take a look at the tech tree and show you where this tank resides and where it leads. You can see it here at the bottom, the M3 Lee. You've got your choice after grinding this one up to the M4 or the T1 heavy line. And you can see here from my garage, I have kept the T1, M6, T29 all the way up to the E5. Every single one of these tanks is great. Whereas on the M4 line, the M4 is a great tank. But I really didn't enjoy playing the T20 Pershing M46 Patton, so I have since sold those. So anyway, you can go down a medium line or a heavy line. Let me go through the setup on this. As you can see, I don't run camouflage, and I'll go into that a little bit because I don't play this like a typical TD. So I have set it up with a repair kit, multi-purpose, and adrenaline. Provisions, I'm running all three: standard fuel, canicola, and protective kit. Ammunition, just a few rounds, 9 rounds of APCR there, which is your Pramo. Don't forget you can change right here with this button from gold to credits. And then equipment, enhanced gun lane drive to add increased time to the aiming, rammer to increase the loading time, and vents to add basically 5% to all crew skills. Now, I can certainly see an argument for playing this like a typical TD with the camouflage nets and either optics or binocs, but as you'll see in my gameplay, that's not the way I chose to play this tank. Just real quick here, I wanted to show you what this tank looks like through Armor Inspector here. It's a great app. Helps you see what your tank looks like to different opposition tanks. You can see here, I've got it loaded as the shooter being an A20. Still quite a good bit of green. As you angle the tank, you see that front turns to yellow, but you get a little bit smaller green section on the side. And then obviously if the tank is perpendicular to you, it is going to be all green. But what I was talking about as far as using that 10-degree gun depression to go up hills and put your tank at an angle like this, and you can see we've taken that front of being green and made it just about red. So that's one way to obviously make your armor more effective. Now, I will say this, against any Tier 5, you're just going to show up as a green target. So make sure you are using cover to the best of your advantage when you are bottom tier. Alright, here's our trusty spreadsheet. You can see here I've got the M3 Lee asterisk just because I think this plays more like a TD than a medium tank, but at 500 hit points it is a little bit below average. Hull armor 51 is right in line with the average, and obviously the turret there is the same, and that's a little bit better than some of the other medium tanks. Comes in at 28 tons, which is a little heavy, but has a very nice 453 horsepower engine. Downside, only 38 kilometers per hour, but it does feel like it moves pretty well, and that's obviously enhanced there with the 51 degrees per second traverse speed, so you can maneuver fairly well. Gun depression, as we've talked about before, really have to use that minus 10 degrees on hills to enhance that front effective armor. It's got a pretty nice view range there of 237, which is why optics or binocs could help out. Moving down to shell penetration at 92 for your AP and 127 for Pramo is not bad. But it's certainly well below most of the numbers for the TDs at this tier. So you've got a play style of a TD with a gun of a medium. So it makes playing this tank rather difficult. Average damage there at 160 is nice. And obviously what makes this tank stand out is the 10.36 rate of fire. And I say that in the sense that if you look at the TDs, the average rate of fire on the tier 4 TDs is 6.8. So you're getting a lot more rounds per minute and doing roughly about the same damage as the M8 or T40 or Hetzer. So that gives you a damage per minute there of 1657, which is obviously best in class. Aim time 3.5 is great. Dispersion is not too bad. So overall, just basically this being a TD makes playstyle pretty difficult. So let's take a look at a couple games and show you how I managed to master it. All right, here's our first game on Middleburg. You can see I am top tier. Got a bunch of mediums, so obviously taking the hill is critical. We're going to push on left. And you can see here, I'm coming up to this hill, and I'm trying just to stay on this hill a little bit, and using this hill to, like I was talking about, increase that effective armor. Got good gun depression at 10 degrees. And we're just going to be patient. And you can see our team now is pushing up. And they've got someone that's already gone straight to base. The left side turns out to be too crowded for me to really work and get some good shots in. So I'm going to come back around to the middle of the hill here, and you can see they're all up here, minus probably one in the base. What I'm trying to do here is just take a shot over this hill and back up while I'm reloading. Use that hill as my cover. Get a nice shot on the A20 as he comes down there. And we're just pumping out shots, but unfortunately our team is not doing too well here. You can see base cap is still going up. It's up to 40. It's a shame I couldn't get gun depression down on that guy and took a shot for it, because this game turns out to be very close. And you can see the gun does load very quickly. Also, it's pretty accurate. So now the counter's at 76. Looks like they've got 2 in base based upon the way the counter's going here. So I need to hurry down here before they cap. And luckily they're sitting right there in the middle. So get one, and I'd switch it to APCR just because I want to make sure these count. And now I'm backing out. We got base reset. And that was a shot really I shouldn't have taken. I probably should have just backed out there. And we're up 3-on-2. But as you'll see at the end of this, I had a very weak team. 2-on-2, and you can see the Hetzer's got 32 hit points. I'm going to try and swing around wide because they know I'm here. And that right there, that miss right there really hurt. So I know the B1's just got a small gun, but even still, I'm trying to use the building just to back up on my reloads. And the gun's on the right side, so I can just peek around here. And thankfully I bounce that shot, but we're down to one-on-one. We're both one shots really at this point in time, and I just want to back up because I don't know which side of the building this guy is going to come from, and I don't have quite the reflexes there to aim and get a shot in. And so yeah, it came down to that one shot right there at the end. But you can see here I did 1,982 damage, and obviously that was a valiant effort, because basically the rest of my team was horrible. But I think that game kind of exemplifies how mobile that tank can be. So second game here on Desert Sands, you can see I am bottom tier. Basically just 5 tier 5s and poor old me. So we have a lot of heavies, so I'm going to come over on to the heavy alley side and basically just give myself some distance. Their fast tanks, you can see here, have obviously gone the side you would expect them to. Just trying to get a few lucky shots here through the tracks. Managed to get that one to go in. But we know they're coming around. That KV is AFK. So we've already lost one, and we've got an AFK KV. And here I am in a TD trying to hit a Leo and a two Leos in a cruiser. And you can see it's quite a challenge. Missed that shot, and the Leo gets tracked. Get a nice HE shot into the back and do 215 damage. This guy's pushed hard. I'm trying to just get behind some of these buildings, help out the toaster here. Missed that shot. Want to go ahead and try to pin him against the wall, but miss. And finally get him. And of course want to back up, use these buildings as much as we can on our reload. And luckily with the help of the toaster there, we finish off the other Leo. So we've started out missing quite a few shots, but we've clawed our way back and gotten rid of those pesky fast tanks. And you can see it's nice with the fast reload. Fairly good accuracy. And then it's just the B1 left. Get a nice shot here. He's taken 2 shots at me, but now the Hetzer's in front of him. And I'm going to go right underneath the Hetzer and finish him off. That was a nice shot. Between the 5-hole, I guess they would call that in hockey. But in this game, I did 1,511 damage, 4 kills. Was actually good enough for a mastery game. And you can see the tank can hold its own against tier 5s. But you can't block too many shots. You're going to get penetrated quite a bit. Alright, here's another bottom tier game on Himmelsdorf. I'm going to go right. You can see our T28 and M4 and PZ5, I think that was. All push pretty quickly down the middle of the rails here. And I'm just going to sit back down this long alley and wait and hope that someone spots up. Sure enough, Chinu, go ahead and get a nice shot into him as he's walking away there. I can see based on the mini map they're all fighting down by their spawn, so I'm going to push on to the right, trying to keep tanks from obviously flanking around me. Unfortunately, one of our guys is down already, and bounced that shot on the PZ4. I don't know how. I was aiming for the lower glaciers there. Glanced that shot off the side of the Leo. So you can see a little bit of frustration on some of these tier 5s, but what I want to point out is how I'm using these rail cars and just angling as much as I can. And I back up, angle, and then pull forward to take the shot. So again, this is a shame that only tracks him. I've hit adrenaline here, get another shot in, and that Leo comes in and blocks him, does the right thing there. I get a shot into the Leo, but all that damage, and then I decide just to ram myself to death, which I was a little bit surprised there that I didn't have enough to take out the Leo. But anyway, I'll fast forward it here just because this BDR is pretty darn amazing as far as 230 hit points each time, and these guys are just bouncing shots left and right off of him, even into the front of the T14 here. He is just knocking out the damage, so he carries this one. I think he ends up with 5 kills. And basically we held the edge long enough that he could come in and clean up. So only did 1,000 damage there, but wanted to use that as an example of how to use the gun on the right side and to turn and back away when you're reloading. Okay, one last game again on Middleburg here. Just wanted to point out a couple things that work pretty well with this tank. You can see here I'm coming up to this rock. My gun is on the right side of my tank, so I can just ammo rack that. No, that's not what I was gonna say. I can just peek around the corner here, and only half of my tank is exposed, obviously, making my area that I can be shot in just that much smaller, and also allows me to back up on the reload, making it impossible to hit. So we've taken out 2 of their tanks already, and we've got a B1 here. And the second thing I wanted to point out is look at this M3 when he comes up the hill. And you'll see it here a little bit in a minute, how he's really using that angle there, seeing a good bit of red, using the hill to increase his effective armor. And I'm pretty much just stuck here and die a horrible death, really. But we've got one guy sitting in base and not doing anything. But it's really not going to matter if we win this game. But I just wanted to point those couple things out as far as using cover, whether it be a rock or the side of the building. Try to get yourself on the right side so that you can just stick your gun around the corner. And try to use hills to increase your effective armor. And I think you can be successful in this tank. It's not easy to drive. But I think in these games here, I've shown that 1,000 damage is really not that difficult to do fairly consistently in this tank. So it's kind of a necessary evil because it gets you to the M4 and the M6 line, T1. So, make the most of it and stay safe on the battlefield, guys. Have fun. It's just a game. Get educated. Not fingered. Littlefinger out.